I think the very foundational piece of what it is to be a biblically based masculine man is to have a bended knee to Jesus, a personal relationship with him. He's got to be Lord of your life.
Yeah.
And you have to be pursuing him and doing your very best every day to walk with him and to be more like him.
What's up, guys? My name's Dane,
I'm Matthew.
and welcome back to the One Move Podcast.
For those who are asking what the One Move Podcast is,
It's a great question.
Yeah,
It's a fantastic question.
So basically, what the One Move Podcast is it's a podcast where we're just encouraging Christians to go step out into whatever the Lord's calling them to do.
Yeah,
Whether that's start a podcast, start a ministry, start a business, whatever.
all the things.
All the things.
It's freaking sick.
Yeah.
So on this episode of One Move Podcast, you can tell we have a third person, and we're in a different spot again, which is cool. Same spot as last episode,
Yeah.
different angle. Now it's officially December, so we have a Christmas tree in the back. It's
There you
freaking
go.
sick. But yeah, we're still at my house on break, and so we're making use of the space while we have it. But we're here with my dad this week, which is
Coby.
so freaking sick. Coby Edwards, the man, the myth, the legend. And so we have him on a podcast this week. It's freaking joy. Matthew and I were talking about what podcast we were going to do this week, and I was like, dude, like, we just came to the conclusion, like, while we're here, we should have my dad on because he's a freaking stud, absolute unit. And so, yeah, can't wait to have him on. But yeah, his name's Coby. He's, 47, 48 now?
48.
Yeah, my dad is the COO and co-owner of Lawton Marketing Group, along with my mama.
Let's go.
He's an elder at our church, freaking absolute man of God, which is the real reason we're having him on today. Yeah, and so he's a massive reason of why I'm even half the man I am today. I owe him a lot, so he's a freaking stud, and I can't thank him enough for the man he is, the father he is, the husband he is to my mama, all these things. He excels in every area of life.
Wow.
And so I appreciate him a lot, and that's why he's valid, and that's why he's on this podcast today. So you better listen to him.
trust him.
It's going to be good. But yeah, do you have an icebreaker before we get into
I
this
do
whole
have an
deal?
icebreaker. It's nothing crazy, but
What we
since
got?
Take it easy
Christmas
on me.
is coming up,
Oh,
what is one of you guys' favorite, I guess, holiday traditions you guys do as a family?
I'll let you go first because we have the same holiday traditions.
Throwing me to the wolves.
You also get first pick.
That's true. That does
Yeah.
help. No time to think. I'll pivot just a touch, and I'll say that one of my favorite traditions growing up for me was that we always went and looked at Christmas lights. And I feel like that's a bigger deal back when I was coming up than in y'all's generation. But we had neighborhoods here in Lawton where there would be just the whole neighborhood was decked out. It was beautiful. And so we would just load up on some random night during the week during the lead up to Christmas and just go peruse through the lights and listen to Christmas music the whole time. And
That's sick.
It was super great.
There's
So
not as many neighborhoods like that in
aren't.
Lawton anymore. It's kind of sad.
I think it's kind of
People don't put up
generally,
Christmas lights
They
as
just
much
don't.
anymore. It's sad.
It is
We still
sad.
do.
We do. We have ours up already.
It's
Rock and
true.
roll.
I love it. How old are our Christmas lights?
They're not that old, but
They're pretty old.
they're old style.
They're pretty old.
They're incandescent bulbs, and they are
Incandescent bulbs. How many of you know what that is?
dad language for you. And yeah, we've had them since our old house.
Yeah.
So
The Lawton one? Our old Lawton
yeah,
house?
our old Lawton house.
Okay. So what? That makes them like
Probably
8, 9,
12,
10,
10,
11, 12 years
like
ago?
10 years old probably.
Okay, 10
They're
years old. That's old.
There's been some
That means they're-
revitalization that's been sewn into them as we've gone, but yeah, they're old.
I love it.
They're showing their age.
I love it. They look sick, though. My favorite would probably be, let's see. That's such an interesting question. Probably Hallmark movies, I think. We watch a lot.
fam.
We watch a lot of Hallmark movies with the fam over Christmas
Yeah.
break, and it's kind of awesome. A lot of people hate on Hallmark movies because it's like the same story every single time. It's
also real.
which is true. But
Yeah.
I think even in the midst of that, I love them, and I think they give off Christmas to me. The Christmas Hallmark movies specifically. The rest of them are kind of like meh. But
Yeah.
Christmas Hallmark movies, like boy in hometown tree farm, big city girl runs into him, fall in love, leaves big city boyfriend, which is kind of sad, but but all in.
Sounds like a great movie.
Great movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you?
Fire. I would say at first I was gonna say Christmas lights. I loved like growing up making hot chocolate and then just like driving for hours.
Yeah.
But I would say now, probably Christmas Eve, all of the siblings like get each other Christmas gifts. We kind of exchange the night before actual Christmas, and so that's probably my favorite.
That's pretty
So
sick.
just the siblings do an exchange
Yeah,
first. That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
I like that.
So
That's pretty
Especially
awesome.
with a big family.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
So.
Sick. Well,
yeah,
with all of that, now that the
All
ice
that.
has been shattered into a million little pieces,
yeah. What's the topic, bro?
the topic of today's podcast is just broadly over biblical masculinity. And this guy, you can tell just looking at him, flannel and all, boots on. This guy's a
Flannel
man.
really, yeah.
This guy's a man.
Flannel.
Okay, my dad is a
I
man.
figure we're talking about masculinity. I better wear a
100%.
flannel.
You got to
know?
bring it. You got to bring it. And so, yeah, that is broadly what we're talking about today. And we're just gonna, as we go through, we're just gonna dig into the rabbit holes that we desire. So, I think.
Yeah.
Do you have our first question?
I do have
Just
kind of a
to start it off.
question. So it's kind of like a two-parter. So the first question is like, I guess, what is just your definition of biblical masculinity? And then how have you seen just masculinity in general change over the years? Not necessarily biblical masculinity, but just men in general.
Like from like your generation to our generation.
Yeah.
Where do you think the biggest change is?
Yeah.
Positive or negatively?
Both.
Good questions. Yeah, I would say, man, that there's been quite an evolution. I'll start with the second question. How about
Okay.
that? And then
Yeah.
we'll back into the first one. But I think there's been quite an evolution from my age growing up, being a kid and being exposed to like my dad's generation of men who were generally much more stoic, spent a lot of time out of the house, and I think there wasn't a lot of times necessarily the greatest, certainly stereotype of that generation's manhood and what it was to be a man. And then I feel like over this past generation, we've kind of been in the wilderness of
Your generation we're talking
our
about?
generation
Okay.
has spent, my generation, yeah, I spent a lot of time in the wilderness of really looking for what it is to be a man, manhood being under attack a lot in our society. And some of that for very valid reasons, right? Because men weren't being biblical men.
Yeah.
And so I think we've seen a number of evolutions over those years, and I think that was a very detrimental thing in the church, where it was like a lost art to be a manly man inside the church.
Inside church, yeah.
I think especially there. And so, but I feel like we're on the uptick out of that. I feel like people are regaining an appreciation for masculinity. I think society, or at least parts of it, are as well.
for sure.
I think we're starting to see men who aren't afraid to be masculine and who are masculine being strong leaders inside the church again as well, which I think is huge.
Yeah.
And so I think it's been quite an evolution. So I don't remember exactly what your question was, but hopefully that answers it.
Yeah. I think it does.
100%.
Yeah.
And then what would I say my definition of biblical masculinity?
Yeah.
I mean,
In
it's not
simple
like I walk
terms.
around with a definition handy, but I think the very foundational piece of what it is to be a biblically based masculine man is to have a bended knee to Jesus, a personal relationship with him. He's got to be Lord of your life.
Yeah.
And you have to be pursuing him and doing your very best every day to walk with him and to be more like him. Because I think everything that it is to be a man comes from him and from our Father. They are strong. They were compassionate. He's a server,
Yeah.
a servant. And
Right.
so I think until our heart gets right with Jesus and he's Lord of our life, I think honestly masculinity can be dangerous because it's power that's unrestrained. It can often be power that's unrestrained.
Yeah.
Hasn't learned how to be a servant. You don't love others like you should when you don't follow Jesus, I think. So yeah, that's not much of a definition, but those are some opening thoughts.
It's real though.
Yeah, no.
I
I
like
think that's
it.
a fire definition.
Yeah.
It's good.
How do you think, like, as you've grown into elderly age of man.
Wow, calm down, bro. Just chill out.
No, as you've
There's truth there, though.
grown through fatherhood, and now you're a maturing in age.
Yeah, no, it's real.
And
We can fight it all we want. It's coming either way.
how do you think that's grown inside of you? Like, has that always been kind of just an innate thing that you've, like, your masculinity has come rooted in the Lord? Or, like, if not, which I'm guessing not, like, when did that shift happen and what did that look like?
No, I think definitely always wanted to be a man.
Right.
You know what I
Sure.
mean? And so,
100%.
and I mean that in like the masculine sense. Like
You want to have your hands dirty. You want to be strong.
Yeah, I think
you
I'm
want
just
to be able to provide.
I think in the worldly sense, I've always had an appreciation for what it is to be a man, and I want to be a man.
Right.
In that sense, in the good parts of it anyway. And I think that you get saved, and then the Lord begins to work on you. Even before you're saved, He's working on you. And so I think that's just a part of the process, really.
Yeah.
Learning to make your life more like a mirror that reflects who He is, just starts to shape who you are as a person, and certainly who you are as a man. So, no, I think that's definitely changed without a doubt over time. And I think it just gets clearer and clearer. The closer you get to the Lord and to the Word, it just gets clearer and clearer the distance between where you are and where you ought to be,
Right.
and the places you want to grow and get better and become more like Him.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I think there's this verse in 1 Corinthians, and it's something that you and I have talked about a lot this year, but that I've been digging into with a lot of the guys on my hall and stuff like that as well, as biblical masculinity's kind of been a focal point of what we've been trying to focus on as a hall. And it's 1 Corinthians 16:13. And it says 14 as well, 13 and 14. And it says, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. And then verse 14 says, let all that you do be done in love. And so I guess my question to you is as you've walked like through your life and through fatherhood and marriage and all of these things, what has that looked like practically for you? Because I think it's like I think in a worldly sense of masculinity, the two kind of contradict each other, right? Where it says, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. And then it continues and says, let all that you do be done in love, right? And I think that if you're looking through a purely worldly sense of masculinity, those two things may potentially contradict themselves.
How so?
Right?
Like, what do you think there?
Well, I think that if you're looking at, in a worldly sense of what masculinity is, be strong is, it can in a lot of ways be seen as like a macho man type of effect, right? Where it's like you're trying to promote a facade or be the strongest, buffest, most tough guy in the room. You know, you got the biggest beard and the biggest muscles and like all these things, right? And you can knock out anybody in the room, whatever, right? And then it continues and it says, let all that you do be done in love, which if you're looking through a worldly sense of masculinity, that would probably lean itself more towards femininity than it would masculinity, right? And so I think through a biblical sense, obviously that is biblical masculinity, right? But from a worldly sense, I think the love aspect of it may lean itself more towards what the world would call femininity versus
Softness.
right,
If
versus,
you will. Yeah, it's
right,
soft.
which it doesn't necessarily have to be,
Right.
right? It's the Lord's not calling it to be soft.
Totally.
But what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think you're totally right. And it's an easy place for a man to get lost, where exactly like you said, you want to be big, you want to be strong, have the biggest beard, the biggest truck, like all the things,
Right.
and be able to knock anybody out.
Have all the guns.
Right, exactly, all this stuff.
Right.
And none of those things are bad
Right.
or wrong.
Yeah.
It's when they're out of control or you're going out and doing things, being able to knock somebody out. I'd say
Useful tool.
that's a great useful
That's a
tool,
great-
right?
Sometimes you got it.
Yeah.
But if you need to go knock somebody out to prove to everybody that you're the
something.
toughest guy in the room,
Yeah.
then that's wildly out of bounds. That's a massive problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think what the Lord's doing there is what he so often does is he's bringing balance, and he's keeping us from these wild pendulum swings that we so often fall prey to, and saying, no, we're going to do both. You need to be strong. You need to be able to stand firm in your faith, which is, I mean, you can't be a weak person. You can be physically weak, but you can't be you got to have guts inside of you, resolve inside of you to stand firm in the faith, and then also to be strong, and at the same time do all that you do in love. I think he's calling us to both, and I think that's obviously, I mean, his word is perfect, his way is perfect, and what a beautiful example for us and a fulfilling of who we are. God made us to want to be strong, and to want to stand firm, and to want to be protectors, right, and providers. I mean, that's how he created us. That's innate within us. But when that runs amok, out of bounds, and there's not love to run amok, some father stuff for you again. But when you don't have love to bring balance to that or control to that, then you're just a ruthless ruler rather than a loving king who does all that he does to serve and build up those that he's responsible for.
Yeah, a ruthless ruler versus a loving king. It's like, it's like a tyrant versus a father.
100%.
Yeah.
Which we've all seen, either lived or seen those examples, like on TV or from friends, where they had a dad who was super tough, super masculine in that way, and was a ruthless ruler inside his home. And everybody, there wasn't love and affection, there was fear. And that's not God's picture of what it is to be a biblical man, for sure. That's not what he's calling us to.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. We're called to be meek and to serve, not necessarily be a wimp, you know?
Definitely not called to be wimps.
Yeah. I have a question, actually, just for the both of you guys. We could talk about it for a minute, but what are some of the biggest ways you think, like, the enemy is just attacking men in particular, like in this generation or just in the world today?
Sheesh.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a spiritual battle for manhood going on, quite honestly. I think if you look at the kind of orchestrated attack on masculinity and on manhood, we don't battle against flesh and blood. And so if you see it through that lens, then you think that's people doing war against what it is to be a man or against men, and really it's not. I think that's just that's the enemy working through people. People who God loves, by the way, to tear down masculinity and to sow confusion into the genders and into what it is to be a man. And I think the enemy wins there, and people are lost and suffer because of that. Obviously, both sexes are massively important, and both are made in God's image. And so when either one of us gets confused or off our path that God has for us, I think we as a people as a whole suffer because of that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree, 100%. Yeah. I think one of the quickest words that comes to mind for me in a lot of what I think, like, in a way that masculinity has been attacked, I think a lot of guys struggle with complacency, truthfully, is a word that comes to mind quickly for me, in the sense of, like, I think broadly over a lot of areas of life, whether it's your schoolwork or your relationship with the Lord or your relationship with a woman or your work or your career or any area of your life, I think there's a lot of guys who have a deep struggle with complacency in their life right now, and it's caused them to fail in all of these areas of life. And, like, I think the Lord has innately placed the desire and the calling inside of our lives to go out and be, you look at it practically, how we were for generations. It was like we were hunters and gatherers, and you couldn't be complacent in that, because if you were, your family didn't eat, and the Lord created us to be like takers of ground, it's like we were warriors, right? Like David's mighty men. And it was like we were always designed and called to be out, like, taking ground for not only our family and for a long time ago, it was like taking ground for Israel, right? Like they were going out and conquering territory, and like now we're conquering ground for the Lord, right? And in all of these things, it's like people have grown so complacent that it's like they're okay with living a half-butt life where you have a halfway decent marriage and your kids are halfway okay and your career is half what it should be, and you're stewarding your finances halfway and you're tithing every other month and you're doing all of these things, right? And it's like you just live a half-butt life and it leads you to this place of complacency. And it's almost, I would venture to say, like lukewarm. Obviously, in our relationship with the Lord detests lukewarmness, right? Like he spits it out of his mouth. And I think there's potential for it to be the exact same in the way we treat every area of our life, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that the Lord rewards our effort and he wants us to put in work in all of these areas of our life, you know? And if we walk it in a place of complacency and lukewarmness, I think that he detests that truly. And so I think that would be a big thing for me that I think guys are struggling with a lot now. I mean, like I have included, you know, at different points.
So where do you think, as a generation, where do you think complacency, where does that come from?
Stems from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the causes of that?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is, I
think it depends on how you were raised.
Right, 100%.
You know?
100%. I mean, there's a lot of kids who, I think now more than ever, we've grown up without, like more of America has grown up without a father figure.
If you don't have a present father,
Then-
I think it's really hard for you to grasp the concept of biblical masculinity.
Right. It's like I grew up sawing you work hard, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what it takes to actually be a man, right? And all of these things. It's like this is a
rare.
part of it, you
Yeah.
know? Like we're gonna be outside for 6-7 hours a day in the summer doing work, you know, because that's part of what it takes. We got to keep this house running, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's that is a massive thing.
a lack of father
It's a
figures.
lack of father figures.
Yeah.
I think it's an increase in the amount of time we spend on screens. You know, it's like, which again, I'm a victim to this at times, but it's like
We all
are. Right, but I mean, time's fleeting, and you're on screens, and it's like 2 hours are gone in the blink of an eye, you know. And it's like even without it requires an increased level of intentionality to not just coast through life in the way of the world that we're in now.
I don't think it's that. It's also just easier to coast through life.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I don't think people were really able to do that years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you can literally, you can get unemployment checks.
Yeah.
And
You can
sit
cheat your
back
way
and-
through high school, cheat your way through college.
Right.
All the things.
Right.
You know?
Not get a job and still make money. It's like
Yeah.
this life can be easy and meaningless if you want it to be, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think one of the big culprits might be distraction.
Yeah.
And screens are obviously a part
Sure.
of that, a big
Right.
part of that. Screens, social media, which obviously go hand in hand, porn, which I think there's just so much that it confuses a guy,
Yeah.
distracts and confuses, and it gets you all twisted up.
Completely miswires you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In that regard, obviously video games, which again takes us back to screens, but video games as well. It's a thing that feels so productive. You feel like you're doing something.
You feel like you accomplished
like the
something.
wiring inside of you. You know,
Right.
you're winning games and getting better at games, and it feels like you're taking ground in life, and you're literally wasting hours of your life. And
Yeah.
obviously, games, whether it's on a screen or otherwise, have a place, and they're important. And
Yeah.
all those things are fine except for porn. In
That one's definitely
in moderation, porn is definitely not okay. Yeah, I think it just leads to a distracted people.
Yeah.
And even sometimes with a sense of accomplishment, like you actually are, like you did something today, and all you did was win a couple video games or something. So
You just got a victory royale, bro. That's
for real, and it feels like you did something. I mean,
Accomplished.
I'm proud when I get one. I mean, it's super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's real.
I think distraction's a massive
100%.
problem in our society.
Yeah.
What's crazy, I think, is, and I think I'm grateful for it as a species, but what's crazy is that I think as we've seen men, especially young men, but I think men as a whole, become more and more distracted in their lives, we've seen women step up and be more focused and more on point, and maybe honestly, just out of necessity.
I think it is out of necessity
I think
in a lot of
that
ways.
it's like, I think women are naturally wired to just handle business, and they do it as moms and as wives all the time, and they just step up and do what's got to get what's got to be done.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I've never thought this before. I'm just wondering this out loud now. But I just wonder, as you see men just be distracted and apathetic in life, how much of that is do women just naturally rise up into that void,
Right.
and take on more responsibility and just I don't know,
Necessity.
add a necessity,
Yeah.
right? Because men aren't doing what men are supposed to do.
Right. Because I think by the Lord's design, that shouldn't be the case. Right.
Well, we each have our own
Right.
roles and things
Right,
to
where
do.
we're taking,
Yeah.
Right. Where we're taking priority and
But,
stuff.
but women shouldn't be having to step in
theirs and our side.
and do theirs and ours. Yeah, that's not good.
That's not how the Lord intended
Right.
the deal to work.
That's not teamwork,
Right.
at all.
Right.
That's just them carrying the load.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. 100%. Do you have one that you think?
Yeah, I was thinking a lot on it. I think there's also just another group, specifically within like the church, that I just think the idea of being vulnerable and submissive to God, they view it as almost something that's like feminine, And I think there's that whole other side too of obviously, yeah, you're supposed to be a hard worker, you're supposed to be a man of your word, all these things, but also like the manliest thing a guy could do is be submissive to the Lord, And so, I don't know, I've seen that in church, especially. I think growing up, I'll use this as an example because I talked to some of my guys on my wing about this earlier in the semester. But I think one of the biggest ways the enemy is just like attacking men, Christian men in general, is just like their prayer life. And I think growing up, usually when I thought of like a prayer warrior or like someone running the prayer room, it was always a woman.
Generally
And-
older, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not that that's a bad thing. Like
One of those
there's
praying
something-
And stepping up.
Yeah, it's something there is something so special about like a woman of God praying, and it's amazing. But prayer was made for both genders. I don't know when we decided like it would just be a girl thing to do. And if you literally look at Jesus, I remember like doing like a little message in the summer for like the guys at my church, and I was talking to my leaders through it. And one of them brought up this point of like usually guys are more busy and naturally they don't have as much time to pray. But the more I like thought about it a little bit more, I was like, actually, if you look at Jesus, who was the perfect man, and had every excuse to not pray, like he could have just took time to rest, sleep, whatever. He prioritized a prayer life,
Massively.
That was never even like a question. That was never on the table of things he would put to the side, know? And so I think that specifically, as well as other things in the church, people now view as feminine. And it's like, that's not the truth at all.
Right.
And so even just the idea of like just being like vulnerable before God, I think is something that we've kind of lost and is really hard to do in our generation. I think of this is something that, again, I was prepping in the summer for something that I was talking about this, and it spoke to me a little bit. But I was reading how like Jesus took some of his friends to the garden before he was going to die, right? Garden of Gethsemane, right? Gethsemane. I always mess that up.
That's how I've always said it and heard it, but
I'm not a scholar.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
I was like, wait, how do we say it here?
How do we say it?
We're in Oklahoma, bro. That's how we say it down here.
I wonder if one of the reasons Jesus brought his friends to the garden was to show them like it's okay to be vulnerable before the Lord. It's like these guys were following him. They saw him heal so many people. He was confident. He was bold. And for the first time ever, they saw their Messiah like broken for a minute and a little shaken. And I wonder if like they also lived in a time where that wasn't normal, And so I think to sum all of that up, I feel like I've kind of just like bounced around a little bit. I think, personally, I think one of the ways the enemy is attacking just men in general right now is like just the lie that you can't be vulnerable before the Lord, and also like you're not being submissive is the manliest thing a guy could do if he's being submissive to the Lord. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for sure, and I think there's a lot of layers to kind of what you got into with men not filling important roles in the church.
Yeah, kind of bounced around a little bit.
No, it's fine. I think it's all relevant and it all made sense.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different things going on there, though, including what you're talking about. But an old pastor of ours used to say that you want to live on the ragged edge of faith. And you're just out there where it's uncomfortable. You're right on the edge. You're literally living your life in faith, because you're right on the edge of what you know is going to happen, and being out of control because you're following Jesus that closely, and you're willing to be out there doing whatever it is that he's laying on your heart to go do. Go talk to that stranger, whatever it might be. And what else can you do that's that wild and that bold than to live your life that way? Right? I mean, that is not that's not a weak version of being a man by any means.
No.
You've got to be massively confident in your Lord and in yourself to be able to say, yeah, I'll go.
Right.
I'll go, send me.
Sure.
You can't be weak and say that.
Yeah, no.
Right? You got to believe in who you're serving, and believe in yourself, I think, to do that. You got to be bold and manly. Obviously, women can live life that way as well, certainly. But as a man, you've got to, I mean, you just embody that, I think. You embody manliness when you live your life that way as a man. And I think he calls us to big and great things if we're willing to step out in faith, like walking on water. Right? Like it
takes a lot of boldness.
You can be terrified, or you can be terrified and step out in faith.
Right.
I think that's just, the enemy loves to come in and twist things up and get us confused. And so getting us twisted, like you're saying, and being submitted to the Lord as a weakness. I mean, just that tweak, really. Submissiveness to God versus being submitted to the Lord, just because of how that lands on us as a man.
Right.
I think it's the same thing, but it makes a massive tweak. If you can be submitted to the Lord, you're submissive to him either way. But a submitted man is one who's already given his yes and is willing to jump out and do what God calls him to. And I think that's big, bold, and all the way manly. Like, for sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think
so good.
one of the other things I wanted to dig into that I think is fascinating is, you are married, which is sick.
I am.
I want to be at some point.
Me too.
I dream of that. But yeah, so I think that obviously you're married to my mother, which is freaking sick. Praise God for that.
Yep.
But yeah,
Amen,
so like
for real.
how as a married man, as a husband, like, how have you walked that in manhood, right? Because Scripture tells us, like, a husband ought to love his wife like Christ loved the church unto death, right? And so just like how, I guess, mindset-wise, what has been your approach to marriage in that way? And I guess practical steps as well, for walking in that as a way to not only honor your wife, but also honor Christ and the picture that he wanted marriage to paint, which is the picture of Christ's love for the church, right? So what does it look like for you in marriage to walk as a biblically masculine man? Like, how do you take care of mom in a way that honors the Lord, and is in alignment with his call of how we as men are supposed to approach marriage?
Yeah, that's good. I think I'll start with something that he's working on me right now with. And, I like to do goals every year to start the year, and for all different phases of life. And marriage is certainly one of the most important areas in my life. And one of the things he called me to be better at this year was to serve her. And that's been fun, to intentionally take steps and go after just looking for opportunities to serve her, where honestly, oftentimes I just would have let her serve me, or I just would have maybe thought a thought and then not done anything with it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I should probably do that sometime. Yeah. That's so real.
All right.
And so I think that's an area that he's growing me right now. And when you serve somebody, you see them in a more tender, loving light, I think. I think it just, God does work in your heart when you serve others. And I don't know, I know it's been she's received it and appreciated it and loved it, but it's been so good for me to be going after serving her in all kinds of just little ways, and just trying to do little things that I ordinarily wouldn't have, and I'm just doing them because I want to, because I want to treat her a little better, every day. So that's been super cool. As far as, and I think that's always the case, right? God's always working on us, always taking us to new places, always knocking off sharp edges and trying to pull some gold out of us that he's got in there. Man, what does it mean to be a biblical husband, basically? Is that the question? Sure. I mean, I think...
husbands are men.
I think, yeah.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. Amen. Man, I mean, faithful, right?
Yeah.
You got to be faithful and true. You made a covenant before the Lord and before a bunch of friends and family to love your wife and to honor her, and for her to be yours forever, and for you to be hers forever, as long as you live.
Right.
And covenant's a big deal. And so, yeah, I think, so I don't know if it's the foundation. Obviously, Jesus is the foundation, but it's the surest way to screw up a marriage is to not be faithful. So, yeah. So being faithful, I think, is a massive thing. Fighting for your relationship, fighting for date nights, and doing those types of things. Being a present and loving father is massive.
Which you did fantastically, I'll say.
Well, I'll take that, but thank you. Yeah, what else? Being a protector. Being a provider. Doing whatever it takes and to provide for your family, doing whatever it takes to protect your family, no matter what. Like you said, up until death. I mean, you just that's where you have to be.
Right.
And when things go bump in the night and somebody's got to get up and go check the house, that's you.
That's gonna be you.
That's you. And when you're walking down the street and there's traffic over here and buildings over here, you're the one that's on the street side. Because if somebody's going to get hit, it's going to be me, not her. So you just putting her first. Look for ways to protect. Looking for ways to provide. Always being faithful and loving and being a servant to your whole family.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. How do you, I guess, pre-marriage? What do you think is like the important approach to take in the sense of like through courting women and dating women, getting to the goal of marriage, right? Like what does that process look like, and how do we approach that in a way that is healthy and honoring to the Lord, and also masculine in nature, right? Because I think there's a lot of dating culture today is very like feminine, like I see a lot of like just girls like totally taking the lead in relationships, and like probably out of necessity as well, of like guys just being unwilling and unfit to lead in relationships, and so in that, and then also outside of that, just broadly, what do you think it looks like practically, like walking, dating, and courtship, and all of that in today's age for
That's good
for us?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is this is like so obvious, but I think also so important, is that you just don't do sex before marriage, and if you have, you stop. You repent and turn around and go the other way. You can't undo the past, and the Lord forgives you, and He can redeem you.
100%.
So maybe you didn't know better back then, or maybe you did, but you didn't do better back then. Okay, you know better now, do better now. And take that to the Lord, ask for His forgiveness, and ask Him to help you do it His way. And I think your marriage relationship is the most important earthly relationship you'll have. And so you want the Lord's blessing on it in every single way you can have that. And he's very clear about sex before marriage.
Right.
So just do it his way.
Right.
I would say that's massive. As far as dating and stuff goes, I think you're right, man. It's from the stories I hear and whatnot. It's a confusing place. And dating's confusing. The sexes are different. Right. They're very different. Yeah. So it is a confusing thing.
Yeah.
I would say I told you both this before, but I'll say it again, that dating is for discernment, and the whole point of dating is to find out if that person is the person that you want to marry.
Yeah.
So that is the point of dating. You don't find out if that's the person you want to marry before dating them. That's like putting the cart before the horse. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So the point of dating is to find out, is to spend time together, intentional time, one-on-one time, doing relationship type things, going on dates, doing whatever, the adventures of life, right? Together, walking through all kinds of seasons of life to find out if you think that person is a spouse for you forever. And most often, all times but one, you're going to be in a dating relationship and you're going to find out, or she's going to find out, no, you're not the one. And then y'all are going to quit dating and you're going to move on, right? And that's good. That's normal. That's healthy. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
And so I think that gets so twisted up right now. And people want to figure it out before they start dating, which is just craziness. Dating is purely for discernment. It is to find out if that person is the person. I think you got to have the spark. We've talked about this as well. You got to have the spark, and you've got to fill all the important right boxes as well. Nobody's perfect, but purely spark won't get it done, and purely
works on paper
won't get it done. You got to have both.
Right.
No one's going to hit every checklist thing, but if they hit a bunch of these things but there's no spark, that's a no-go.
Right.
And if they don't hit very many of these at all, and certainly not the most important ones, but there's lots of spark, that's a no-go. That's a recipe for disaster, I promise. So, but you need both. Man, I think a big one for you guys, so talking about masculinity, I think a big one is to lead. Is just to lead. I think we as men spend so much time, especially young men, trying to figure out what a woman wants and what she's thinking. And I'm just going to tell you, buddy, good luck, right? They're complicated beings just like we are, and they're different than we are, just like we're different than they are. And so I just jump and lead.
Right.
And don't try to do it the way they want to do it. Just do it the way you feel like you should. Be you and lead, and ask people to go on dates or ask people to do this. Just do it rather than saying, are they ready? Do I think they're ready? Is that whatever? I just wouldn't get it so twisted up. And if they're not ready, they'll just say no.
Right.
Yeah. Right. That's good.
It's real.
Instead of being in the seat of passivity, being passive, being not in the driver's seat of your dating, talking, texting, whatever phase of relationship you're in. That's just, is that the seat you want to be in?
No. Right. And is that the seat we were designed to be in?
Is that the seat you were designed to be in? And if it's not, then don't put yourself in that seat.
Right.
And I think I see you guys as a whole, just in this generation, tend to just put yourselves in that seat over and over again.
Yeah.
I would just lead and be bold. And I think more often than not, whether the woman knows it or not, what she wants is the man to lead and to be bold and to do those things. Even if that's what she says she doesn't want, it probably is what she wants. And if it's not, she'll let you know and she'll go her own way. And that's cool too.
Right.
Right?
Because that's what we're designed to do.
Right.
Is to lead.
Right.
So if it's a girl who doesn't want you to do that, then.
Right. Two people starting down a path and then discovering once they've gone down that path for a while, that you're not for me or we're not for each other. That's not failure.
No.
That's not a bad thing.
It's just life.
That is an inherent part of the process, and every male-female relationship you get into is going to end that way until you find the one, and then they're forever.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
it's a good thing. When it happens, you say, good, I know she's not it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can move on to the next one.
It's real.
Keep looking.
It's good. It's good. What do you think the importance is? Because I think this is something too, like through in guys that I've like talked to who are in relationships and stuff like that, who have come and like asked me for guidance and things like that. Just guys that I've talked to in general. I think something that I've seen be very important is a need for practicality in setting boundaries in dating.
Okay.
In the sense of like setting physical boundaries or things like that, of that nature, that are going to set you up for success while you date, right? Because if dating is for discernment, like you say it is, and like I agree it is, right? You can't let your mind be ruled by emotions. There has to be a level of logic rooted in it, right? And a massive level of just clarity in your head, right? And so I think that requires in a lot of areas boundaries in dating, so that you're able to walk that in a non-emotion filled headspace, right? And it keeps you free from sexual sin and things like that as well, which is obviously, it's something you can talk all day about wanting to avoid. But I think, and I've seen without practicality, without the practical steps taken, it's very hard to do that sometimes, right? And so I guess, do you agree with that and the importance of practicality? And I guess something that I've talked to a lot of those guys about is that, in the sense of like, if guys are going to be leading the relationship, like we all have a desire to, and like we're all supposed to, right? The burden of that practicality falls on us, right? I think. And I think that it comes to a place of like...
And when you say practicality, you mean boundaries?
Boundaries is what I'm talking about right now. Yeah. And it's you, and I'm asking you if you agree with this and then to add on to it. But I see boundaries inside of dating, and like lines you're going to set of like, we don't want to cross this in dating, right? To protect ourselves, right? And to keep us both level-headed and clear and things like this, so we can walk forward healthily, right? You talk these things out with your partner, with the person you're dating, right? And you get on the same page with it. But then I think that once you've decided what those boundaries are going to be, I think there's a level of practicality where it's like that burden should fall on you to hold that, you know? Because girls are, whether we want to admit it or not, they're innately more emotional creatures than we are, right? And it's our job to lead. And so we have to be able to lead even when we're emotional or filled with emotion or don't want to do something, right? And I think that's an interesting thing too, because I think like oftentimes we get so caught up in the like spiritual aspect of like, oh, like I don't want to do this, I do want to do that, and like just, it's all just such big picture, like 10,000 foot view, that like sometimes you miss getting into the nitty gritty of like, this is how I'm practically going to do this, you know? It's like it's the concept of like, oh, I want to build a house, right? And then it's like, okay, now floor plan. I mean, you built this entire office, right? So it's like, I know you big plan, we're like, okay, this is what I want the layout to look like. And then it got down to the nitty gritty of like, oh crap, where do I want outlets in here? You know, I know that was like a whole thing.
Literally,
like,
yeah.
Where do you want outlets in here? Do I want this one to be a 4-box outlet or 2, or like 3-prong or 2-prong, or like what does all this need to be? How much voltage goes here? Where does this light switch make the most sense, right? And these are all practical things that you have to do if you want the whole building to stand firm and be good, right? And to be a place that people want to be. And in the same way in a relationship, you have to be practical if you want the relationship to be a healthy place where you and your girl are able to continue to have a healthy, happy relationship and continue to decide whether or not you want to continue towards marriage, you know?
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
that was just all my thoughts played out, so feel free to add on.
yeah, I mean, I think boundaries are, so and I don't know if we're talking about sexual boundaries or if it's greater than that.
I think in a lot of ways it's sexual boundaries, but I think it's practicality as well, in the sense of like it doesn't all have to root back to sex. It's like I think there's boundaries that people set in general that are like.
Can you give me 2 examples?
Okay. Well, one could be if you're spending too much time with your girlfriend, you could set the boundary of like, we only want to hang out for like X number of times a week. in the sense of like if you're being ruled by your relationship where you're hanging out every other day or every day and you're not getting to develop friendships with other dudes, which is a massive part of life, right? Brotherhood.
For sure.
One boundary could be that, where it's like, okay, we're going to put a cap on how much we're going to see each other every week because this is getting unhealthy,
Yeah.
right? And we're seeing each other too much. And then another one could be, okay, I'm gonna have you back in your dorm room anytime we do hang out by 10 o'clock at night, because I know after 10 o'clock, if we're hanging out or sitting in the car or doing whatever, there's potential for things to escalate further than we would want them to, right? Which would be more of a sexual boundary.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. I mean, a lot of times you can approach that two different ways, and I think you need to have both tools in your toolkit. One is preemptive decisions, principle-based decisions that you make up front, like what's in bounds and what's out of bounds.
Right.
Say sexually, just the whole thing. Where are we willing to go and where are we not willing to go?
Right.
And that's just decided up front. It's something that I've decided for myself up front. It's just where I'm at, and this is how I've chosen to live my life until I'm a married person. So I think those types of boundaries are principle-based decisions, and they're done up front, and those are important, and you should make those. Those are always easier to make and serve you better when you make them up front, because there's a principle behind it, and there's no temptation. You don't go too far before you've made the decision, right? So just make it up front. And then the others is a response to certain circumstances.
Right.
So like you said, for an example, we're spending too much time together. We're kind of all in on each other all the time, to the detriment of our other relationships or to school or both. And so in a response to that, I think we should set up a healthy boundary to help us still be together, but to walk it out in a healthy way. We've just gotten into an unhealthy space. So I think, yeah, that's absolutely good as well. I would say, though, that the warning I would give is to not overcomplicate it going in, right? Like the second example is a response to a situation.
Right.
That's one thing. Coming into a relationship with that boundary already set up, saying we only see each other every other day.
Right. You don't need a list of 160 laws that you have to follow in your brand new relationship.
Let it be simple,
right?
Bro. Yeah.
That's good.
And if things get complicated, then fix them.
Right.
Bring in solutions and boundaries to bring balance back or to fix it. But date, have fun, let it be simple. Just enjoy the time, enjoy each other. Don't make it so complicated and so much pressure. Enjoy the ride. And whether you're on that ride for a week or 2 months or 2 years or a lifetime, either way, just enjoy it and soak it up. And God's got stuff for you in it, stuff to teach you, both of you, to teach you, to learn from each other, to learn about relationships. Just keep it simple and have fun and
it's good.
Go for it.
It's good. Yeah. I think last question we have for you before we get out of here is, I think it's going to be your one move of the episode.
Okay.
And so I think as an elder pointing it towards people more in Matthew and I's age, right? What do you think is the practical next step we should take to further pursue biblical masculinity as a whole?
Gosh, that's a tough one.
This doesn't mean there's other good steps that we shouldn't take.
Of course.
Right? Like this isn't the only
Just
step.
pick one.
But just pick
Right,
pick
which
the one
is
that's
like
heaviest on your to
the hardest thing for me to do. But I'm just going to
Just
do it
pick.
for y'all.
I appreciate your sacrifice.
It's just against my nature. I think the thing that's on the top of my mind is the radical edge of faith that we talked about. The ragged edge of faith is what it's actually
It's
is.
good.
And pursue living there. And I think that brings in boldness and reliance on the Lord. It brings in being submitted to the Lord. And so if you commit your life to living on the ragged edge of faith, I think you've given God your yes, and you're saying, I'm in, and let's go.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go wherever you call me and do whatever you ask me to do. And that's going to be wild and crazy and scary. And what more exciting of a ride can you have for a life than to live out there on the ragged edge of faith?
Right.
And I think as a man, if you do that, that will help you walk in and step up into biblical masculinity.
Right. That's good. Be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Amen.
That's something you told me a lot growing up.
It's very true.
Which is true.
Yeah.
And it's paid dividends. So
100%.
dividends.
Let's go.
Okay, go back to accounting class tomorrow. That's good. I love it. Well,
How about y'all? Do y'all have one moves?
oh yeah. I mean, we can add one. You go ahead.
You go first.
Okay. Yeah, one move, biblical masculinity. I think mine would be extra intentional in your life. I think that, again, rooting back to complacency, like I was talking about earlier, I think we should flee from that. And I think a lot of that comes from intentionality. And so, like you mentioned, is like you write down goals every year for things that you want to do. And I think that's fantastic. And I think that holding yourself to a high standard as a man and pursuing those high standards, because it's super easy to write down goals at the beginning of the year and then
Put them in
by
a drawer.
March you've forgotten about them, and it's like it never even happened, you know, and you're like, okay, I'll do that next year.
Yeah.
And I think I'll do it tomorrow or I'll do it next year is like one of the most dangerous things ever, right? And it's like, just be willing to actually take initiative and actually go do what you've told yourself and you've told the Lord and you've told those around you that you're going to do, right? And the dreams and the things that the Lord's planted in your heart, he didn't plant those in you just so they can stay dreams forever.
Amen.
Right? Like he planted those in you so that you would take ground and go and actually execute on them, you know? Like I was saying the other day that like nobody's ever been a visionary, like nobody's ever been called a visionary just by like having great dreams and sitting on them forever. You know, it's like the people that we look at and we call visionaries are the people that have great dreams and then they go out and execute on them and actually do something with them, you know, and they turn something into something amazing. And that's when somebody's like, you're a visionary, you know. It's not just the dream, it's the execution that goes along with it, right? And so I think in our life as well, part of living on the ragged edge of faith is execution, right? And it's being willing to give the Lord your yes, because you can say, like I'm comfortable being uncomfortable, and then you never actually get uncomfortable, right?
Right.
And it's like
It's all just words.
right. Exactly. And so be willing to actually go get uncomfortable, live on the ragged edge of faith, and execute on it, right? Like be willing to execute on the dreams that the Lord's given you.
I will, if I could, real quick, just to piggyback on that.
Absolutely.
I would say that your point about goals is massive and real. You should make goals, but it's so typical to make them and then stuff them in a drawer. Where do they go, right? And then they land somewhere and you never see them again. And in a couple of weeks, you've forgotten about them.
Next year.
And and you start over like, gosh, I'm really going to do it this year. So one thing I've done that's really helped me is I just keep them with my Bible that I use in the morning for quiet time. My prayer journal, my Bible, and my goals for the year are all right there together. And as a part of that time, I read over every one of them again. And then some of them are trackable, like I'm making progress on them, like buying your mom flowers twice a month is one of my goals for the year. And so every time I buy her flowers, I write that down, you know? So I think that's huge. And then just one other thing I'll add that you made me think of is that, dude, talking about complacency, as a man, all the guys that you go to school with, if you're not chasing after something, if you're not aggressively pursuing something, if you don't have a dream that you're going after, I would submit to you that you're doing it wrong, and you have no aggressive posture toward anything that matters in life if that's where you're at. And so take that to the Lord in prayer and ask him what he wants you to go after and to get serious about, and then start really aggressively applying yourself towards something. You ought to be going after something.
Yeah. I saw this quote the other day that was talking about, I won't get it exactly right, but it was like, if you don't wake up every morning excited about something, then your life is lacking.
You're doing it wrong.
Something that it should.
You're just doing it wrong.
Because
Then there's a spark there. Right. There's a vitality to life that happens when that's where you're at.
The Lord wants that for us.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I would say I would kind of just add on to yours, actually. I would say, like, do all those things, but make sure you include God in all of it. Don't just, like, dream and put God to the side, dream with God. Don't just execute and put God to the side, execute with God.
Amen.
Right? And so you could be doing all those things, but God has to be in the center for it to be successful. 100%. And so I would say that.
That's great.
Preach.
Short and sweet.
I freaking love it.
Love it.
That's great. Well, Dad, Coby.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Dude,
This is an
Super
honor.
cool.
it was a freaking blast.
I felt wholly inadequate to come in here and talk to you guys about biblical masculinity, but I appreciate the opportunity. It was super cool to get to be on with you, and I'm proud of you too and what you're doing. And
thank you.
Thank
your,
you.
your podcast is
Thank you
awesome.
for coming
and-
on.
Yeah,
Thank you
dude.
also just for like, even when we're here, taking the time to pour into us. It's a massive blessing. So.
it's a blessing to me,
Thank
man.
you.
Y'all are great.
Yeah, the Lord has allowed you to completely freaking excel in the world of biblical masculinity and fatherhood and all of these things. And
Means a lot.
I'm beyond grateful not only to have a mentor like you, but a father like you, and somebody who picks up the phone every time I call him. Normally I have to call him twice, but he always picks up on the second. He always picks up on the second one, so it's great. But yeah, I love you and I appreciate
Love you
you
too.
for coming on and being such a fantastic father. So
Yeah.
thank you, sir.
Back at you, buddy.
Anyways.
Best son ever.
With all of that being said, we're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so follow us on Instagram, TikTok,
TikTok.
YouTube, Spotify, Apple
Apple.
Podcast.
Did we say YouTube?
Yep,
Did
you
I
said
say
it.
YouTube?
You said
Yeah.
it.
See, I said
YouTube.
it all.
Bang.
Don't think I did something wrong when I didn't do something wrong.
My bad.
But
I think you
at
said
One
it
Move,
together.
at One Move Podcast everywhere. Follow us, please.
Yeah.
Drop a like, subscribe, do all the
Do
things. With all of that being said, we appreciate you guys. We love you. As this Christmas season is approaching, have fun with your family, your
real.
friends.
Yeah. Get rest.
And yeah, don't forget what it's actually about, which is Jesus.
Jesus.
But yeah, we freaking love you guys, and we pray that this episode blessed you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Merry Christmas.
Bye bye. Merry Christmas.
Fire.
Bang.